Hey guys, how y'all doing today? My name is Franchise Fanatic and welcome back to the channel. And today, if you guys, there's another movie review. Today we're tackling Scream 6, the latest in the Scream franchise. Of course, you guys have been hopefully watching my Scream 1 through 5 reviews, where essentially I review the film non-spoiler and then I spoil it in the end. Same thing here. The film is still in theaters, so if you do have do have a chance and do have time and you want to go see Scream 6, I recommend seeing it, obviously, and then either coming back to watch the spoiler section, or you just want to watch a review without getting ruined on it, which is going to be this part of the video. So make sure to like, subscribe if you're new, and yeah, let's get right into it. So Scream 6, I actually, this is the first one I saw in theaters, because Echo Killshot recently was like, hey, franchise, you gotta watch Scream. I was like, I don't know. And then I watched the first one. I was like, this shit's pretty good. And then I of course own 1 through 5 on Blu-ray. I have of course seen them and reviewed them, and they're fantastic. Honestly, I genuinely love all 5 of these movies. I love Evil Dead and all that too. But the Scream franchise is something pretty friggin' special. I think pretty unique. And of course, Echo does not live near me, so I'm like, who am I gonna see it? My mom won't go. I don't want to go by myself. That's weird. So I'm like, I'll take Alan. He doesn't like horror movies, but I'll take him. Go. So I told him, I said, hey, you're gonna go see Scream 6 with me. He's like, okay. So he saw it. He actually enjoyed it. If you're watching this, Alan, comment if what your rating would be. But he actually effing liked it. And he told me, he's like, I'm gonna watch all 5 now. So good. If you're watching this, Alan, you better watch all 5 because they're good. But anyway, here we have Scream 6. So this is essentially a I guess sequel to 5, where Tara and Sam are back as the main protagonists. This is the one where Neve Campbell, aka Sidney Prescott, is not in it because she had a big freak out about money or whatever. I don't know. It is kind of wonky that the main protagonist of this it's like having Ash Williams not be in Evil Dead 3: Army of Darkness. It's like, oh yeah, he's not in that, but it's a new guy. It's like, why would you? I know he's not in Evil Dead Rise, but that's a continuation. It's different. This is just kind of weird because I'm assuming she was gonna be in 6, and then money or whatever happened with her. I don't really know, but I heard it was money related. But I think her not being in this is it's a bit wonky. That's not a negative. But it was weird, you're used to seeing Sidney, she's the main character in all 5, and then she's just not in 6. Now, I'm not going to tell you about it, but in the canon, right, in the film, they do address where Sidney is, what's happening to her, and that is addressed. I was worried, but they actually address it, so that's good. Of course, Gale Weathers is back, which is pretty cool. I think that's really interesting. Of course, Sam and Tara are back. We get I'm not gonna ruin it, but we get some more stuff that was in. There's a thing. Okay, there's a thing in Scream 5 that took me off guard, that you probably know about. It has to do with CGI and making someone look younger. That character and that element returns, and it's done really, really well. Again, the killer reveal is really good. Of course, the cinematography is great. The kills are good. I do think, though, that Scream 5 is a better film, just a little bit, in terms of the intensity, the kills, the tense nature of it, the story. Of course, I just think 5 is an overall better film. But 6 carries on that tradition of the whole requel thing, or I don't know, Chad, his sister, the black lady. I don't remember. She's a great character. I don't remember her name, though, for the life of me. She kind of, in the fifth film, talked about the requels and all that. And in this film, she's like, oh, we're not in a sequel, we're in a friggin' franchise, And I think that meta commentary that the Scream franchise is known for is back. It is not handled poorly. It's handled well. It's funny. It definitely is probably the most brutal in terms of the kill. I think the kills were better in 5. But they're very good in this film as well. There's some pretty shocking moments. Not only the killer reveal, but also just the fact that it's it's world building in a sense that characters return that were in the other ones. There's a character in 4 that returns in this. Of course, Gale's back and all that. So there's legacy characters, but the new characters are really good. And it's just typical Scream fare, but they do stuff that is really unique. The way things are shot, the way the kills are, the killer reveal is really different. Some really awesome and badass scenes, which I really can't get into because I don't want to ruin it, because it still is in theaters, and it's kind of hard to review a movie like this because there's so many awesome set pieces where you're like, oh, I want to talk about that, I want to talk about it, but you don't want to spoil it, because this isn't like a 2-year-old movie now. It's still in theaters, so it's hard to do that, but I guess I can just say trust me, bro, in a sense that it's fun, and it's entertaining. It's probably the scariest one. And again, when I say scary, none of these movies made me jump or go, ah! You know, Alan was doing this. I mean, he was scared. Which I'm not making fun of him, but he was, because I was doing that, but I was also so into my popcorn that I couldn't afford to go like this, or else it'd go all over the place. So I was holding it in, as you know, because look, I've seen the 5, so I kind of know when the jump scares are coming. So I kind of like and kind of hold my breath and just gonna, okay, it's good. It's over, okay. And but there were some moments that got me. It is brutal. It is very. There's some pretty disgusting kills in there. Of course, Ghostface wields a shotgun, which you see in the trailer, which is really cool. Of course, he uses the knife. That's his go-to weapon. But there is a scene with a shotgun. Again, that's in the trailer. But I think Tara and Sam are really good. That goes into the aspect that was in 5. That, you know, Sam is, of course, related to a certain someone who is a killer in the franchise, and she's kind of worried that she's going to turn out like this person. You know, am I going to be like him? Am I, you know, whatever. And they do that in a really unique way. And I kind of mentioned it in my spoiler review for 5, but Sam is like Rey Skywalker in the fact that Rey Palpatine is related to Emperor Palpatine. You know, Rey is related to the most evil, basically the Hitler of Star Wars. Or if you want to get political, the whatever. But, you know, which I'm not. But we can make allegories all we want on that. But the certain people, you know, whether you're Democrat, Republican, whatever, those people, you know, the whatever, what have you, basically the most evil people in the world, it's like, you know, Rey's related to that. It's like the Star Wars version of that, right? Palpatine is like the Thanos or the dark side or the whatever. The Lord Garment, the Overlord from Ninjago, you know, it's like that. And the same thing with Sam. You know, she's kind of related to a horrible person. And she's kind of battling internally of, am I just going to snap one day and become a killer like this person? Or am I going to overcome that and become a better person as a result? And they kind of deal with that in a really unique way in this film, where it ends pretty definitively, I think. It's just like in my John Wick Chapter 4 review, I said, without ruining anything, the film does end pretty definitively. I'm not sure if they're going to make a Chapter 5 or whatever, but I'm not sure. I'm assuming they're going to make a Scream 7. I don't know why they wouldn't, because the 6 films are practically really effing good. So I'd be hard-pressed to hear that they're not doing that. But, you know, I really enjoyed it. I think as far as negatives, there's not too many to count on here. They do some really unique things. Because, again, I think I said this in one of my other reviews, but, you know, you can only make a guy in a Ghostface costume with a knife that kills people interesting. And they did it for 6 movies. You know, how do you make that consistently entertaining for 6 movies without becoming boring and just, you know, every kill kind of blends together and they're all kind of the same? They do that through good horror, good action, well-written characters, a good plot point, you know, as that lady said, we are now in a franchise, right? We've been in one for a while, but, you know, it's cool to know that these characters, some die, some stop, you know, like Sydney left, you know, but, you know, there's characters that were in the very first movie, or the 4th film, or the 3rd film, or the 2nd film, that are now in this one, and it's really cool because it all connects, and they can, you know, because the films are so well written, they can now kind of blend these people together into a well written, a very cohesive, overarching kind of canon and story. And that's really cool, because not a lot of horror films can do that, where each one gets consistently better. Now, I will stand by that 5 is a better film than 6, but if you really ask me why, I guess I would just say it's more memorable, you know, because this film, there's nothing bad about this movie. Kills are good. The tense moments are really tense. The writing is still really good. The meta commentary is good. Some of the kills are really intense. There's some really intense moments where, because Alan's never seen the other 5. His first Scream film was this one, 6. So there's a few moments where I was like, oh, you know, I was like, don't die, don't die. You know, I was kind of in my head screaming like a little girl. And he was probably like, oh, this is intense. But I'm like, no, you know what I mean? I'm freaking out, you know? It's like, and he's probably looking at me like, what the hell's wrong with this kid? But I was, you know, I've seen the other 5, so these characters that I've come to grow and know over these movies, when they're in danger and shit hits the fan, metaphorically, it gets pretty intense, you know? It's like, wow, this is insane. And so yeah, there's some really good payoffs in there. Again, the ending is really good. The message in a Scream movie, which I wouldn't think there would be, kind of a heartwarming, heartfelt message. It was kind of there in 5, but it's really in there in 6. And again, the kills are great, the action is great, the story is great. There's some really awesome, there's like a love, I don't want to say love scene. It's not a sex scene, but, you know, there's some relationship, romantic stuff going on between certain characters. specific girl, specific dude, and I think that's pretty cool how they were able to weave that in there without being cringy and weird. It feels organic and it feels like it flows perfectly. And again, that's hard to do in horror movies because it's so easy to have the girl with the sexy main character girl, you know, just do the dumb thing, or she trips over a branch, or whatever, you know. But they in these 6 movies they twist it so well. Where you're like, okay, this character is gonna be dumb, but then they're not dumb, you know, or oh, or this is the killer, you know. I mentioned Scooby-Doo on crack, but this is, you know, this is that times infinity. It's insane what they're able to do here, and it really takes you off guard. And again, when they do that killer reveal, I was like, oh, I didn't see that coming, you know. So it's really good writing. Where again, it's not just a horror movie; it's a mystery movie. It's like it's basically like a whodunit detective film. That's also a horror thriller. I mean, they're really good movies, and this one is, of course, really, really good as well. Again, it's just not as memorable as 6, you know, as 5. Because the first few minutes of 6, I was not bored, but I was just kind of waiting for stuff to happen. And stuff wasn't happening, really. And then, of course, when stuff happens, it happens hard. It's like, you know, 0 to 10 really quick with Ghostface. But again, it's just a very entertaining film, and I'm really, really hoping they make a Scream 7. Unless it gets really bad or it gets really woke. Yeah, there's a lesbian kiss in this. So, yeah, that is woke. Again, it has nothing to do with the plot. It's just, oh, these 2 chicks like each other. It is kind of tragic what ends up happening to said character. That's all I'm going to say. So I guess there's that. It makes you kind of care about the relationship. But again, you know, as a straight Catholic, as you guys know, it was like, it's a bit wonky. But other than that, you know, of course that's not going to matter for the review. But, yeah, they got to force some stuff in there. But, you know, it's not that bad. You can look past it. It's because they're so well-written characters, at least the one is, it's, you know, it's not as bad as, like, just shoving it in there and, like, say, The Rise of Skywalker for that lesbian kiss in that scene. That had nothing to do with anything. It was just there to be there, and it felt really cringy and weird. You know, it was like, okay, I guess that happened. It was a 2-second shot. We're moving on now, you know. That this has an impact on the film where it actually feels, I felt for that character. So yeah, it's woke, but what do you know? At least there's certain stuff, you know. Yes, I'll say I don't agree with it, but it makes sense with the story, and the music and the editing and the acting and the writing for this character is so good that these scenes really hit hard, and I can't really say anything bad about it. Yes, I don't agree with the choice they made, but I'm not here gonna, you know, I'm not gonna bitch about it and be like, this is a D+. You know, I see a lot of these channels where they're claiming woke, and it's bad. And yeah, that's kind of bad, but I think it's handled well. And she's such a good character that I really care about her as a character. Because again, all these people are very well written. Not one, like, every time a character dies in these 6 movies, I cared. I wasn't like, F that guy. Like, I don't know anything about him, you know. There's maybe one or two where it wasn't as impactful as another, but, you know, the writing in this film is really, really strong, as are the other 5. So when characters die, again, I don't care if it's lesbian, straight, whatever it is, you know, I don't care. Characters, if a character's well written, it's going to be well written, and she's well written. And when these characters are in danger, especially her, I was like, oh, don't die because I like you, you know, you're a good character. And I'm not going to tell you if that character lives or dies or not, you got to see the movie. But I was very impressed with how they handled the interactions between them and Ghostface, the comedy, the action, the horror elements, some really awesome and badass kills, and some really awesome scenes, which again, I can't really ruin for you. But, I mean, what do you expect? You know, it's Scream 6, there's a reason why there's 6 of them. They're good movies. If you're not into horror, I would honestly say give this a watch. They're not scary. If you think a guy in a spooky looking mask with a knife is that terrifying, then don't watch him. But for me, I think demons like Evil Dead, demonic possession like vomiting blood and cutting your limbs off to not get possessed, that's more horrifying than just a guy with a knife. Now, if I saw a guy with a knife in my local Walmart, yeah, I'd piss my pants and run the other way too. But I'm not going to be like, if I saw a demon in Walmart, I would pee and poop myself. I'd probably die right there. I'd just say, take me, you know what I mean? Deadites, let's go. You know, I wouldn't stand a chance unless I had a chainsaw. But, you know, to me at least, a guy with a knife isn't really scary. At least in this franchise. Yes, it's intense and tense, and you're on the edge of your seat, and your heart's in your mouth, but it's not scary where you're like, oh, I can't watch that, I can't stomach that. Yes, there's blood, but it's not that bad, honestly, in my opinion at least. This one is probably the most brutal out of the 6, because it's the newest, and you know, of course the newer film is going to be brutal than the older ones. But I genuinely had a good time with it. And again, as far as negatives, I can't think of too many, man. I think the story's really good. The action is good. The characterizations are really good. The humor is on point. The way they twist your expectations is really good. So yeah, I mean, I really don't have that much to say that's bad about it. I mean, I was racking my brain during the movie and after for a few days here, and I was like, what can I say on this review that I didn't enjoy? And I really can't think of much. And I feel weird giving all 6 of these movies A's, but in my opinion, they're all worthy of that A rating. Again, as you guys know, I mentioned this before, I'm not biased. I will review something. If I have a problem with a movie, I will bring it. You know, like, I love Star Wars. It's my second favorite franchise, but I will admit I have a lot of issues with the prequels, right? The acting and writing is not that good. I still love the prequels because they're Star Wars, right? I love those movies. They're great for Star Wars. But as movies, they got some problems. And, you know, so like I said, if I have a problem with a whatever, even in Ninjago, you know, I'll mention I'm not the biggest fan of Season 7. You know, I'm not the biggest fan of Day of the Departed. I don't hate them, but they're not my favorite, you know, so I'm not going to say, like, oh, everything is great because it's Ninjago, you know. So, yeah, if I had an issue, I would bring it to your attention, and I just want to make that clear. I'm not saying, oh, A+ to Scream 6 because I like the you know, no. If I got problems, I'm going to mention them. And I really couldn't think of that many things to say that were bad. You know, I really didn't. I was racking my brain, like I said, and I genuinely enjoyed this film. So, yeah, Scream 6 is probably going to get an A or an A+. I think it really does blend on the franchise in a really good way. It ends great. The whole film is paced well. I think the kills are good. I think it's intense. It's funny at times. The new characters are good. Again, it's always like the other 5. It's making you constantly on the edge of your seat. This guy's the killer. This girl's... And, again, that gives... you know, precedence to rewatchability, you know, because once you watch it for the first time, you're like, who is the killer, or who are the killers, right? Because you don't know if it's one person or many. And then once you do know who it is, you can then rewatch it with, you know, like I said, girlfriend, friend, parents, whatever. You can say, oh, I know who it is, but that person doesn't. So it'll be interesting to see, now that you know who the killers are, their motives, and, you know, look for certain things in the scenes. And it's really cool that they can do that. And, yeah, Scream 6 is really good. So, anyway, we're going to move on briefly to the spoilers section of this review. So, if you have not seen Scream 6, thank you for watching. Make sure to, again, like, comment, subscribe if you're new here. I'm trying to get to 2,000 as quickly as I can. Subscribers are, I'm getting some, but it's kind of stagnant. So, if you're new here, hey, it's a button press, and it's free. So I greatly appreciate your support by subscribing to my channel. So anyway, we're going to move on to the spoilers section of the video. And yeah, so again, if you haven't seen Scream 6, go to the theaters, watch it ASAP, and then come back and watch this if you feel so inclined or whatever. I don't know. I'm not your mom. But anyway, let's go to the spoilers. So again, we got to mention the scene with Gail. She does not die, but she came awfully friggin' close, and that was the scene where Alan was intense, but I was really... I almost fell out of my chair. I was on the edge of my seat so much. And I was like, oh, shit, you know, I mean, I got to catch one. And you're on those reclining chairs, you know, so it's like your feet are up, and I was still somehow slipping. It was whatever. But in this, it works. And, you know, that Gale scene was pretty intense. Of course, the killer reveal being, again, connected to Scream 5. Richie, the cop. There's this scene where the cop, I don't remember his name, the male cop, he's like, oh, Kirby, the girl from 4. She's now with the FBI or whatever. And, you know, Sam or Tara, one of them, get a call. And they're like, oh, Kirby's actually not with the FBI. She's effing crazy. And then, oh my God, Kirby's the killer. Wow, I didn't see that coming. And then it turns out she's innocent, and it was the male cop the whole time. And then the daughter that was, like, they called her a slut. I don't remember her name. The slut that was attacked, that died, she came back. And she was the killer. And then that other nerd guy that Sam's like, oh, you're the nerd character that I like. She's like, oh, you're too nerdy and dumb to be the killer. He was the killer. So that was kind of cool. But there was a moment in the theater where the audio went out. I should have mentioned this in the other part. It has nothing to do with the rating because it's not the movie's fault. It's the theater. But they're on the subway, and, you know, it's that really intense scene where there's like 50 ghost faces. And, of course, the audio cuts out. And the lady next to me goes, sound! And then the other guy, like, up there, he goes, I think it's actually part of the movie. And I'm like... It's not, you know what I mean? That's not, it's not, you know, like, if you're, I just know it's not. So, yeah, it was an issue with the theater. The sound came back in 5 seconds, but look, I'm going to be dead honest, I was getting nervous. If this film doesn't get the sound back, there's going to be a guy in here with a knife. You know, my effed up brain, I'm like, we're watching a horror movie, it's dark. Ghostface is going to come down the stairs, stabbing the screen, trying to get the sound back, you know, I don't know. But thankfully the sound did come back, but again, that's just a theater problem. But yeah, anyway, I think that the killer reveal was really good. I just had to mention that. But I think it's, again, that writing is really good. The motive isn't the best. It's just, oh, you killed my son, so now I'm going to effing kill you. That's kind of what it is. I've seen better motives in this franchise, but it's good. It hits close to home. Again, it does carry over directly from the consequences of 5, so I thought that was cool. So yeah, I didn't expect it, man. 3 ghost faces, and that scene where the 2 of them wipe the blood off their knife at the same time. Awesome effing shot, man. That shot was rocking, man. I gotta have that in a tribute one day. That was cool. But yeah, so there's a lot of great scenes, and then of course the way they end with, of course, like the hallucination of Billy Loomis, you know, Sam, the Ray Skywalker character I was talking about. You know, he's back as well, and I think it was really, really a good way to end, where Sam is kind of contemplating: am I this killer? Am I this bad person? Or am I going to be good? And that's a message throughout the whole film, and a little bit of 5. Mostly the consequences are in this film, and then the end of her dropping the Ghostface mask, kind of simulating that, you know, almost like Kylo Ren becoming Ben Solo, right, throwing the lightsaber in the oceans of Kef Bir, that transition from one character to another, both physically and mentally. It's a great scene to end on, you know, Sam literally telling the audience through throwing that, you know, she doesn't turn to the camera and say, I'm good now, you know, she throws the mask down, and that symbolizes that she has changed as a person. Now, obviously that's common sense, but you should see the amount of rejects online, total freaking basement-dwelling turds that are like, oh, Ray's not, you know, all the sequel trilogy haters that just don't understand film. It's very sad. And the fact that, you know, I'm assuming they all got this, but it's that symbolism that you kind of have to get movies to understand. You know what I mean? It's like Joker in the bathroom dance. A normal guy, I mean, what the hell is he? Why is he dancing? This is freaking stupid. Him dancing is simulating him going through that trauma, and then him doing this in the mirror, that's him accepting who he is. You have to understand film. It's a very specific set. It's a very specific mindset, and thankfully majority of people get that, but I thought it was really unique how they symbolized the end of her arc, so to speak, of her coming to terms with who she is. So yeah, really good stuff. Anyway, that's about it for spoilers. Nothing too crazy, but again, do not spoil anything in the comments, because again, it's just like I said, people, you know, they go to the comments first. It's a whole thing. But yeah, I enjoyed it. Scream 6 is really good. I hope they make a Scream 7. Hopefully it doesn't get too woke or too bad, or hopefully they don't drop off in quality. But so far, man, these 6 films are great, and I can't wait to get Scream 6 on Blu-ray. Hopefully give away the codes. Anyway, Scream 6, great film. I really, really enjoyed it. And Alan, again, if you're watching, tell me in the comments down below what you thought, because I want to hear, you know, I know you're probably not going to review it on your channel, but at least give me an F to an A+ here in the comments. But yeah, and you guys too. That isn't Alan, because I know it's not just Alan that watches. So if you guys have seen Scream 6, tell me what you thought down below without ruining anything, of course. But yeah, can't wait to cover more movies. I really enjoyed it, and thank you to Echo Killshot for introducing me to the Scream franchise. Pretty effing great stuff, and I can gladly say that it's really, really good, and I'm very glad I got into it. Thank you guys, and we'll see you in the next video.